say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous
Right, quick, march.
In a moment, the names of the victims will be read in Lower Manhattan. Then another moment of silence when United Airlines Flight 175 hit the South Tower. President Biden will commemorate the attacks again later today at the Pentagon, where he's expected to meet with families. Now we are going to return to our regular programming. For those of you on the East Coast, that is Good Morning America. We'll have more coverage throughout the day on ABC News Live.
This has been a special report from ABC News.
For all the joy, the love, the warmth,
the brilliance. Diamonds, diamonds, diamonds.
for all who love Pandora lab-grown diamonds.
Biggest thing I've learned so far? Don't sweat the small stuff. No. Found it. Finding my light. No, knowing my cue. Just trying not to overthink things. M&M's for all fun kind.
Your shipping manager left to find themselves, leaving you lost. You need to hire.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Sponsored jobs on Indeed are 2.5 times faster to first hire. Visit Indeed.com/hire.
RSV can severely affect the lungs and lower airway.
Gordon M. Amoth, Jr.
Edmiro Abad.
Marie Rosabad.
Andrew Anthony Abate.
Vincent Paul Abate.
Lawrence Christopher Abel.
Alana Abraham.
William F. Abrahamson.
Richard Anthony Acito.
Heinrich Bernard Ackerman.
Paul Aquaviva.
Christian Adams.
Donald Leroy Adams.
Patrick Adams.
Shannon Lewis Adams.
Stephen George Adams.
Ignatius Udo Adanga.
Christy A. Adama.
Terrence Edward Adderley, Jr.
Sophia B. Ado.
Lee Adler.
Daniel Thomas Apolito.
Emmanuel Akwasi Afuakwa.
Alok Argawal.
Mukau Kumar Agawala.
Joseph Agnello.
David Scott Agnes.
Joao Alberto de Fonseca Aguiar, Jr.
Brian G. Ahern.
Will you tell me?
Jeremiah Joseph Ahern.
Joanne Marie Aladiotis.
Shabir Ahmed.
Terrence Andre Aiken.
Godwin O. Ahala.
Trudy M. Alagero.
Andrew Alamino.
Margaret Ann Alario.
Gary M. Albero.
John Leslie Albert.
Peter Craig Alderman.
And my cousin, New York firefighter Steve Belson from Rockaway Beach, Queens. Steve was known as Mr. Ladder 24 at Engine 1 on West 31st Street near Madison Square Garden, right here in Manhattan. He was last heard from on the 44th floor while climbing up the South Tower and will be a hero among so many on that day. I want to say, though, quickly, that each one of us who follow us in the readings of the names, as well as each person watching, no matter where you are or the language you speak, has the power to affect the world for good. Never forget the evil terrorist organizations that brought these towers down, killing almost 3,000 innocent lives, including those at the Pentagon and on the 4 hijacked planes. And to all of those out there who still do not know history, please learn about the groups and the nations that continue to support global terror, including all those who still chant death to America. Enough already. Let the good people of the world unite on the side of the good and the righteous. And may God bless the United States of America, land of the free and home of the brave.
and my cousin and godfather, Ryan Daniel Fitzgerald. Every day I wear your initials on my shoulder. I'm reminded of your profound impact on my life. Your memory lives on in our hearts, and your family misses you deeply. The love we have for you will endure across generations. We will never forget you or anyone who tragically lost their lives that day. God bless our military, our first responders, the FDNY, Engine 298, the NYPD, and God bless New York City. But most of all, God bless America.
Jacqueline Delane Aldrich Frederick.
David D. Alger.
Ernest Alicacos.
Edward L. Allegretto.
Eric Allen.
Joseph Ryan Allen.
Richard Dennis Allen.
Richard L. Allen.
Christopher E. Allingham.
Anna S. W. Allison.
Janet Marie Alonso.
Anthony Alvarado.
Antonio Javier Alvarez.
Victoria Alvarez Brito.
Telmo E. Alvier.
Cesar Amaranto Alviar.
Tariq Amunula.
Angelo Amaranto.
James M. Amato.
Joseph Amatuccio.
Paul W. Ambrose.
Christopher Charles Amoroso.
Craig Scott Amundson.
Kazuhiro Anai.
Callisto Anaya Jr.
Joseph P. Enchundia.
Kermit Charles Anderson.
Yvette Constance Anderson.
John Jack Andriacchio.
Michael Rourke Andrews.
Jean Ann Andrucki.
Sue Nia Ang.
Joseph Angelini Sr.
Joseph John Angelini Jr.
David Lawrence Angel.
Mary Lynn Edwards Angel.
Laura Angeletta.
Doreen J. Angrisani.
Lorraine Antigua.
Seima David Aoyama.
And my grandfather, Edward Joseph Papa. Grandpa Eddie, although I never got a chance to meet you, we share many of the same interests. Not only do we share the same name, but I also love to play golf. I also love the Mets and playing baseball just like you did. People always tell me we share the same smile and happy energy. I wish I could have met you, and I hope you're all making you proud.
And my dad, Stephen Francis Schlag. I love him and miss him as ever. All the years combine, they melt into a dream. Life is good, it's 88 and sunny.
Peter Paul Apollo.
Faustino Apostle Jr.
Frank Thomas Aquilino.
Patrick Michael Araños.
David Gregory Arche.
Michael George Archensky.
Louis Arena.
Barbara Jean Aristigue.
Adam P. Arias.
Michael J. Armstrong.
Jack Charles Aaron.
Joshua Todd Aaron.
Richard Avery Arno.
Myra Joy Aronson.
Japhet Jesse Arias.
Carl Francis Asaro.
Michael A. Ajiak.
Michael Edward Asher.
Janice Marie Ashley.
Thomas J. Ashton.
Manuel O. Asidambe.
Greg A. Atlas.
Gerald Thomas Atwood.
James Otterfred.
Louis F. Aversano Jr.
Ezra Avilias.
Sandy Ayala.
Arlene T. Babakidis.
Eustace R. Bacchus.
John J. Badakliaka.
Jane Ellen Basler.
Robert J. Bearwalter.
Andrew J. Bailey.
Brett T. Bailey,
Garnet Ace Bailey.
Tatiana Bakalinskaya,
Michael S. Baksh.
Sharon M. Balcom,
Michael Andrew Bain.
Catherine Bantis,
And my uncle, firefighter Jimmy Riches. Uncle Jimmy, we talk about you all the time and how you sound so amazing. I wish I could have met you, and I know you were cheering me on at all of my cheerleading competitions and watching over our whole family. We all know when we see a dragonfly, it's your way of saying hello to us. We will always remember you. God bless America.
and with endless love, appreciation, and admiration, my brother, FDNY Captain William O'Keefe.
Gerard Baptiste.
Walter Barron.
Gerard A. Barbara.
Paul Vincent Barbero.
James William Barbella.
Colleen Ann Barco.
Christine Jonna Barbuto.
Victor Daniel Barbosa.
David Michael Barkway.
Firefighter Matthew Barnes.
Melissa Rose Barnes.
Sheila Patricia Barnes.
Evan J. Barron.
Renee Barrett Arjun.
Arthur Thaddeus Berry.
Diane G. Berry.
Maurice Vincent Berry.
Scott D. Bart.
Carlton W. Bartels.
Guy Barbsey.
Ina B. Bassina.
Alyssa Christine Burton Bosmajan.
Kenneth William Beznicki.
Lieutenant Firefighter Stephen Joseph Bates.
Paul James Battaglia.
W. David Bauer.
Ivan Luis Carpio Bautista.
Marlene Capito Bautista.
Mark Lawrence Bavis.
Jasper Baxter.
Lorraine G. Bay.
Michelle Beal.
Todd M. Beamer.
Paul Frederick Bettini.
Jane S. Beatty.
Alan Anthony Bevan.
Lawrence Ira Beck.
Manette Marie Beckles.
Carl John Bedigian.
Michael Ernest Beekman.
And my grandfather, Carl W. Tepe. I hear many stories about him every day. Some make me laugh and some make me cry, but every story inspires me. Although I was never fortunate enough to meet my grandfather, he is my hero. I see parts of him in my everyday life, such as the color red, his favorite color, and I see him within my family. He is within my mom, my uncle, and my grandma, within my sister and little cousins, and I know there are parts of him within me, and I know that he is with me and my family in every step that we take.
And my grandfather, Firefighter Alan Tarasarich. I would like to take this time to thank everyone who really keeps their word to never forget, so they are not forgotten. All the stories I hear about my grandfather, I've learned that he would do the same if he didn't die that day. The family misses and loves you.
Maria A. Bear.
Max J. Bilkey.
Yelena Bilalovsky.
Nina Patrice Bell.
Debbie S. Bellows.
Stephen Elliott Belson.
Paul M. Benedetti.
Denise Lenore Benedetto.
Brian Craig Bennett.
Eric L. Bennett.
Oliver Bennett.
Margaret L. Benson.
Dominic J. Berardi.
James Patrick Berger.
Stephen Howard Berger.
John P. Bergen.
Alvin Birdsong.
Daniel David Bergstein.
Graham Andrew Berkeley.
Michael J. Berkeley.
Donna M. Bernardt.
David W. Bernard.
William H. Bernstein.
David M. Beret.
David Shelby Berry.
Joseph John Berry.
William Reed Bethke.
Yanene Beetrue,
Timothy D. Betterly,
Carolyn Mayer Bug,
Edward Frank Baye,
Paul Michael Bear,
Anil Tahalrem Belf.
Let us strive to live with the same sense of unity and purpose that we felt in the wake of that dark day. Together we ensure that the legacy of 9/11 is one of enduring remembrance, compassion, and hope. Thank you.
It is now 6:02, the time of the second tower strike. Please join me in a moment of silence. It's my pleasure to now introduce firefighter Vaughn Fredericks.
Good morning. First of all, I just want to say how honored and humbled I am to be asked to speak at this event today. I've attended this event in years past, and I know just how important and how special this event is. So I want to say thank you for all that go into putting this on and getting this event every year. My name is Vaughn Fredericks. I've been with Tempe Fire Department for coming up on 5 years now. Before this, I've served in the United States Marine Corps, and even before this, I kind of grew up in this culture. My father actually worked here in the fire department. He served 34 years before he retired. Both my grandparents served in the military. My grandfather was in the Army, and my other grandfather also flew fighter planes in Vietnam. So I come from a long line of service, and in 2016 I was called to serve. I joined the United States Marine Corps in 2016, where I had hoped to go to Afghanistan and fight, and fortunately, or maybe unfortunately, I didn't get that opportunity. When I was 6 years old, that was when 9/11 happened. So I was younger, and I don't remember much from that day. I do remember, like a lot of you, I'm sure you remember where you were and what you were doing. And I remember getting ready for school, and my mom kind of called me into the room, and we kind of looked at the TV in disbelief. And I think that's how a lot of people felt that day. From what I do remember, though, was how it brought this country together. I remember the Pledge of Allegiance seemed to mean more when we said it at school. You went to the grocery store, and you seemed to have people that, cared. You weren't in Costco, and it didn't seem like you were invisible in the middle of the lane. And people were running up to you and trying to run you over with their carts all the time. I remember people kind of helped their neighbor, and they went out of their way to take their groceries in when they got home from the grocery store. They went to go the extra mile. When I was in the Marine Corps, I got the opportunity to deploy to Africa. We deployed as a small team, and when I was out there, our mission was to train the Ugandan military on how to operate as how Marines operate. We were tasked to show them how Marines operate and what we do as a small unit. It was a very humbling experience, and even cooler than that experience was the ability to interact with the civilian population of Uganda. Now, these people are kind of what you would think of typical when you think of Africa, and mud huts and makeshift shacks and things like that. And they have to go walk for their water. They don't have running water, and it's a struggle, but you wouldn't know it. The community and the way that those people are together and how they support each other is truly special. As tragic as 9/11 was, I think we can all agree that it brought us together as a country. It was the worst attack on America in history, and there's no taking that away. I think the biggest way we can honor those people that died that day, all the first responders and all the people that were tragically killed in the towers, is by coming together as a country. With all the craziness in this country right now with politics, and you look in the news and the division and all the craziness that's going on, I think it's important as ever to come together as a country and be a community again. Love your neighbor and do what's right. Come together as a community and remember that we're the greatest country in the world. And not on just today, but remember that every day. Thank you.
I'd like to invite the audience to line up to my right for the reading of the names. One note that I want to remind you of, we are in a flight path, so when you're at the lectern, if a plane is going overhead, please pause in reading the names so that everyone can clearly hear those names. Before any of the audience comes up, I'd like to invite Mindy Julian, a 35-year flight attendant at American Airlines. Mindy is joined by Alana Billingsley and other members of the airline unit in reading of the names of the flight crews. The names will be followed by the reading of the rest of the first responders and led by members of the Exchange Club, Police, Fire Department, City of Tempe, and then we'll invite the public to join. You do not have to join, but it really is an incredible experience and opportunity to participate.
Good morning, and thank you, and everyone who has put on this incredible event. Today we remember the bravery and the heroism of 25 flight attendants, 8 pilots, on 4 airplanes. Who were the first heroes who perished on September 11th, 2001. American Airlines, Flight 11.
Captain John Oganowski.
First Officer Thomas McInnes.
Barbara Aristegui. Jeffrey Coleman. Sarah Lowe. Karen Martin. Kathleen Nikosha. Betty Ong. Jean Roger. Diane Snyder. Madeline Amy Sweeney.
United Airlines flight crew, Flight 175. Captain Victor Saraceni. First Officer Michael Herrick. Flight attendants Robert Fangman, Amy Jarrett.
Amy King, Catherine Lavry, Alfred Marchand, Michael Turow, and Alicia Titus.
American Airlines Flight 77.
Captain Charles Burlingame.
First Officer David Shalaboa.
Flight attendants Michelle Heidenberger, Jennifer Lewis, Kenneth Lewis, and Renee May.
For United 93, Captain Jason Dahl. First Officer Leroy Homer, Jr. Flight attendants Lorraine Bay, Sandra Bradshaw, Wanda Green, Cece Lyles, and Deborah Welsh.
Joseph Agnello, Lieutenant Brian G. Ahern, Eric Allen, Richard Dennis Allen, James Amato, Christopher Charles Amoroso, Calixto Anaya Jr., Joseph John Angelini Sr., Joseph John Angelini Jr., Faustino Apostol Jr.,
David Gregory Arce, Luis Arena, Carl Francis Asaro, Lieutenant Greg Arthur Atlas, Gerald Thomas Atwood, Gerard Jean Baptiste, Gerard A. Barbera, James William Barbella, Matthew Barnes, Arthur Tad Berry,
Maurice Vincent Berry, Lieutenant Stephen Joseph Bates, Carl John Bettigene, Stephen Elliott Belson, John P. Burgeon, Paul Michael Byer, Peter Alexander Belfield, Brian Eugene Bilcher, Carl Vincent Beanie, Christopher Joseph Blackwell,
Michael L. Bocchino, Lawrence Francis Mahini, Frank J. Bahami, Gary R. Box, Michael Bowl, Kevin Hugh Brachter, Michael Emmett Brennan, Peter Brennan, Captain Daniel J. Brethler, Captain Patrick John Brown,
Andrew Brune, Captain Vincent Edward Brunton, Ronald Paul Buca, Greg Joseph Buck, Captain William Francis Burke, Jr., Donald James Burns, John Patrick Burnside, Thomas M. Butler, Patrick Dennis Byrne, George C. Kane,
Salvatore B. Calabro, Captain Francis Joseph Callahan, Liam Callahan, Michael F. Camarada, Brian Canizaro, Dennis M. Carey Sr., Michael Scott Carlo, Michael T. Carroll, Peter J. Carroll, Thomas Anthony Casario.
Michael Joseph Colley, Vernon Paul Cherry, Nicholas Paul Chiafalo, John Shapira, Lieutenant Robert Dominic Siri Sr., Michael J. Clark, Terrell Coleman, John Michael Collins, and Robert Joseph Cordice.
Reuben D. Corrad, James J. Corrigan, Sergeant John Gerald Coughlin, James Raymond Coyle, Robert James Crawford, Lieutenant John A. Kriske, Dennis A. Cross, Thomas Patrick Cullen III, Robert Curatolo, Sergeant Michael Sean Curtin.
John Dallery,
Gerard P. DeMar, George D. Pasquale, Geronimo Mark Patrick Dominguez, Lieutenant Kelly Lieutenant Kevin Christopher Dedow, Raymond Matthew Downs,
Stephen Patrick Christopher, Gerard J. W. Captain Mark J. Michael
Captain Thomas James Farina, Terrence Patrick Farrell, Captain Joseph D. Fairley, Robert Fazio Jr., William M. Deegan, B. S. Manley, Alan D. Binder, Michael Curtis York, Lieutenant John R. Fisher, Richard P. Fitzsimmons.
Andre G. Fletcher, John Joseph Florio, Lieutenant Michael N. Fedor, Thomas J. Foley, David J. Fontana, Donald A. Foreman, Robert Joseph Foddy, Andrew Fredericks, Lieutenant Peter L. Frund, Greg J. Croner,
Thomas Gambino, Peter James Yancey Jr., Lieutenant Charles William Garbarini, Thomas A. Gardner, Matthew David Garvey, Bruce Gary, Gary Paul Guidel, Edward F. Girardi, Dennis P. Germain, Lieutenant Vincent Francis Giamoto,
James Andrew Giberson, Ronnie E. Geis, Paul John Gill, Sergeant Rodney C. Gillis, Lieutenant John F. Gill, Jeffrey John Giamoto, John Giamoto, Thomas Edward Werner, James Michael Gray, Kenneth George Rosales,
Joseph Breslak, Jose A. Guadalupe, Jeffrey E. Ruda, Lieutenant Joseph P. Gullickson, David Holderman, Lieutenant Vincent Gerard Halloran, Robert W. Hamilton, Sean S. Hanlon, Thomas Paul Hannafin, Dana Ray Hanlon,
Daniel Edward Harvey, Lieutenant Harvey L. Harrell, Lieutenant Stephen Gary Harrell, Captain Thomas Theodore Haskell, Timothy Sean Haskell, Captain Terrence S. Patton, Michael Helmut Howe, Philip T. Hayes, Lieutenant Michael K. Healy, John F. Pepper.
Joseph Gerard Hunter. Captain Walter G. Hines. Jonathan Lee Lelpe.